Yo, hey, what's going on, everybody? The Schwantz27 here, and it's time for another Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide matchup. We are doing Ultros League, as you can tell by what is going on the screen behind you. We have got a great three-way race here for you. It is a Potion A matchup between three of our runners who I've been told have taken very different paths through this seed. It's not going to be nearly as zoomy as we have just seen. However, it will be still a lot of fun. So let's kick things off here and let's get our runners going. We've got Tybalt in the red, we've got Hefe in the traditional blue, and we've got Pearl Earring here. Switch it on over to the purple, and let's get started. Cyan, Edgar, Gal in the list here with Natural Jump Edgar. That's always really nice to see. Natural magic on him as well. So yeah, this should be a really good one. Let me start the timer actually, and we'll get going. Let's crank down the game sound here. The one thing, of course, I forgot to adjust before hitting the button. There we go. Hopefully that'll be much better for everybody's eardrums out there as our runners head to World of Balance South Figaro. Did I download the wrong seed for Tybalt? Oh no. Oh no. I should have checked this before I actually did it. Yikes. Because this is definitely not the right thing, is it? Let's see. No, this is a completely different seed. I should have paid a little more attention to to what he was doing. So we're gonna quick update this on the fly for you here, and we will go ahead and close this down. I'm gonna see if I could try and. This is gonna be real awful if I try and download his seed. This is what happens when you just trust but verify and go based on the title of the stream. Yeah, this was supposed to have been the right seed. Okay then. Well, I'm sorry, boys and girls. This will be just a 1v1 here instead of a 3v whatever. And also, I did not quite see if we had gotten to the Figaro Castle either on any of our runners' screens. So this is fun. I'm gonna pull up, since this is gonna turn into a 1v1 instead of a 3v whatever. I don't even think I can do this on the fly. I don't think I could switch over to I'm gonna try. So just give me 1 second, and I'm going to be muted my mic for a second while I do some clackety clacks. Alright. Oh, and the timer is still off. Great. Let's see what their timer says. Let's see. Let me see if I can figure out where Hefe's timer is. Let's see if we can get an estimate. Okay, about 4 minutes. So we'll put 4 minutes on the timer. And there we go. Cool, so now we have both of our runners heading down to the South Figaro basement. I think Pearl Earring went to the World of Ruin, which is where you can get the Edgar Kingly discount here. And of course, The tracking is all off now. We have Gao. I know we got Gao and Edgar and who's our other? Cyan, right? Cyan, Gao. There we go. Now I think we got it, ladies and gentlemen. Double tonics here for both of our runners heading through the South Figaro basement. I didn't quite see any decent items here. We're gonna move this sound down a little bit more. Hopefully that's a little bit better for everybody involved. And yeah, so now that we're done looting through the South Figaro basement here, it looks like Hefe went World of Ruin. Yeah, we didn't get much in chests. Half-price earrings were kind of the only thing I missed, according to Golden Chakra. Thank you so much, chat. Sorry about that technical difficulty. I should really check to see if I'm downloading the right seed next time before I before I have everybody run. I noticed it actually on the first race, but of course I didn't notice it on this race here. I went by stream title, and I did not trust but verify. All right, so with Edgar and Cyan and Gao, we're looking for some dried meat here in shops, which is probably part of the reason why Hefe is over in returners, and the fact that we got gutter tier garbage out of all of the chests in South Figaro. Looks like Pearl Earring is going to go ahead and visit the World of Balance South Figaro Castle, which you could also get a discount for if Edgar is in the front of the party here. So let's see, do we have some, we do have a Mega Elixir there, so that'll be nice to write down later on if we need it for Final Kefka. That's our first Esper of the Seed with Shote there on the throne. So usually with a Gao start, I tend to give myself the green light for seeing if I can grab lots of free experience at once. And there's your dried meat there for Pearl Earring in the shop over here. I don't exactly know which. Oh, this is the Figaro Castle shop. There's your meat. Little earring action in a box there. And half-price earrings are going to be in this relic shop here. So definitely going to want earrings. I don't know what our other two characters' commands are, but I know we have Natural Magic Jump for Edgar. And we've got two commands, obviously, for Gao and one for Cyan. So we'll see if that helps. The Atma weapon will definitely help, though, out of that barrel there in South Figaro. Not a chest that most people normally go after if they've already looted the one South Figaro. It's a little bit out of the way. So that is something for Edgar to do later. Gold Lance for now, though, in that weapon shop, and half-price ice shields. Okay, so it looks like we're going to have to buy our stuff this seed, it turns out. We are not going to loot it. So shopping sometimes can be just as prolific as looting. There's a lot of stuff to sell. We could easily buy a couple of ice shields there, and at half off, we definitely want them in order to give Gao something to do, because normally it's 2 hero rings there in the Narsh Shed, too. Normally Gao is pretty useless unless he's got magic, if his abilities don't roll all that well. And since I haven't seen them, I'm going to assume they're trash. That's normally how it goes. Assume it's trash until told otherwise there. Alright, so buying up some consumables here for Hefe. Still has not found that dried meat, though. So right now, we'll give the slight leg up to Pearl Earring, who did go to the weapon shop. And there's a cat hood that nobody can wear. Wah, 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 wah. Keep that in the back of your mind, or you just buy one anyway, because it's a decent investment, and you're hoping that you'll be able to find somebody who can wear it at some point throughout the seed, right? Hefe, meanwhile, heading over to Figaro Castle, is going to grab their shote, going to find their dried meat, and we're going to continue onward here. Oh, Enhancer and a couple of Elemental Schemes. So that's a pretty nice shop. Unfortunately, only Edgar can use the Enhancer. So yeah, with this crew, I'm looking for Dragon Horns for Edgar, looking for dried meat for Gao, and then since Gao has both the Velt check, which is guaranteed Esper item, as well as the Serpent Trench, which is really nice in order to get your levels up early on in the game. I'm looking to score as much free progression as possible. However, 56k for a Zen Thief Esper is a little too much at the moment here. So keep that number in the back of our mind. I'm sure we could sell enough stuff to get it, but I would much rather be buying those ice shields, buying that gold lance for Edgar to use in jump early on in the match. So I would be seeing what it costs maybe in World of Ruin to Zen, if it's, you know, much better. As Hefe picks up a half-price drill there, probably the best tool, other than maybe Air Anchor if you're looking at Final Kefka there. Drill is great because it ignores defense and it's got a huge amount of battle power for a physical offensive ability. So if we come across a tools user, we have instant access to be able to have them do something right away by picking up that drill. And both runners here touching down in Velt. All right, so we got Thunder Shields, we got Ice Shields, and Life 2 is on that show, so a pretty decent Esper there for it's Sword Tech, GP Rain, Gao, and Steel Cyan. So with Sword Tech on board for Gao, I am heading to Cyan's Dream as soon as humanly possible here, because then we can unlock all the Sword Tech. So I have a feeling that our runners will do Velt here, go get our levels with Serpent Trench, and then head right to Cyan's Dream to get that Sword Tech unlocked right away. GP Rain is actually a pretty good ability, maybe not at level 3, but pretty early on. It does more damage than basically almost every other physical attack in the game here. So GP Rain ignores defense, but at level 3 it only does 90 damage. However, it goes up pretty quickly as far as damage goes, and that is a first try Ifrit for Hefe there. So we'll see. Ifrit has life 3, so there's our Calmless protection, although it's at a 1x rate, so we're going to have to leave that Esper on our characters for a little bit to learn that life 3. But as we saw in the last race, you're not guaranteed to ever find Calmless protection, so having life 3 this early into a seed is a nice peace of mind thing. Unfortunately, Pearl Earring here getting a bit unlucky with the Gao RNG in order to force the reward to show up here at the Velt check. Hefe heading through the Serpent Trench. Anywhere from 3 to 5 encounters here in the Serpent Trench. And this one is pretty good if you kill that Soul Dancer immediately. Otherwise, it can get a little hairy. There we go. Pearl Earring. First try, every try for that dried meat. Getting their Ifrit Esper there. Oh, Cyan with a Tempest. It's not often you see that. Normally the Tempest is associated with Gao, the Wind God Gao build from the vanilla game. But Tempest is actually halfway decent. Oh, this is the part that I said is the problem with this fight with the Soul Dancer, is when they start yeeting stuff at you. It starts to not go so well. Hefe's got to finish this fight on this, yeah. That's a big oof and a reset there for Hefe. So this is the problem with my strategy of get as much progression as you can and head through the Serpent Trench. If you can't beat this first fight, then you are in trouble. Like Taylor Swift kind of trouble. Yeah, there you see how weak GP Rain is right off the rip. It doesn't do very well. And those Soul Dancers, every other turn, they'll basically throw something at you. So you have to kill them very quickly. Looks like a Coliseum trip here from Hefe. We'll probably go ahead and pick off the Moogle Charm here and get some levels. We'll see if there's anything worth fighting for in the Coliseum first. Fire Rod's okay. Ribbon. But yeah, not much there. Tonic for Atlas armlets is but usually when you go to the Coliseum, you're trying to break the seed open, right? And try and get something for your nothing from the seed. So unfortunately, that plan didn't work out quite well for Hefe. And Pearl Earring is finding out here that this fight can be a bit of a problem. You can run away from this fight, and it's looking like that is not a strategy that Pearl Earring is going to imply. Hefe, meanwhile, taking off the Moogle Charm, looks like they're going to walk up Mount Zozo. This is another thing I see high-level players will do sometimes here, because you can take fights along the way, and there is a save point right before the dragon. And we know that we have some decent things. We have some spells to learn, and those magic urns will let us learn them without actually killing them, which is really, really great. So Pearl Earring employing the jump over the throw technique. We'll see how long that gets them. Yep, here is unfortunate, the reset there. And then one of the most annoying fights in the game, the Flan here. These guys will basically just respawn themselves 3 times in this fight. I always run away from this fight. It's never worth taking for me. But when you're stuck with the Serpent Trench as it is, you're going to have to resort to some tough things. The Tempest, unfortunately, not putting in work there for Cyan there. So as we've seen already, this is a much more difficult seed than the one that we saw in the previous run that we had on the restream. A bit of a grind here. Alright, finally getting some XP under their belt there. Pearl Earring decides, listen, we're gonna run away from this fight this time, which is a perfectly valid thing to do. The only unfortunate thing is that you miss out on the XP from that fight, and that is a nice XP fight. Unlike this one here that Hefe's got, he's running into multiple fights that don't reward any experience. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the... So there are a pair of dog encounters that don't give experience, and there are some that do. And I never remember which is which, so I always just run from both. And clearly I was wrong on that one, because that was some XP there. These enemies from Pearl Earring are pretty annoying, because they... I believe these ones are the ones that sneeze you away, or maybe it's the palette swap of these that sneeze you away. Nope, these ones sneeze you away too. And what that means is that you don't get any XP from this fight from that character. It's pretty awful. 25k GP in a chest. There we go. Now we can finally start to fund our Zen Thief, kitty, if you will. Or we can go back and buy another Ice Shield. Leo XC points out in the chat there's a 2 group and a 3 group. Yeah, I don't remember which ones are the ones that don't give XP. It looks like Hefe's skipping over the dragon for now. They're probably going to want to get this reward first and then double back to the dragon to get any other XP or learn any other spells. But it is Shadow instead. They're at the top of Mount Zozo. And Pearl Earring having a rough go of it here with Cyan down and out, and Edgar sneezed out of the battle here. It's a bit tough when your starting party has physical offense as their abilities. Magic is so much better than physical attack damage early on in Final Fantasy VI. That's a runic Shadow there, so won't be using Shadow for their ability. Will instead gonna probably throw an Esper on Shadow, turn him into a magic casting person. Yeah, Golden Shocker points out that even if Gao dies, this fight is over and nobody will get any XP because Edgar's already been sneezed off screen. So we might as well just keep going for it here. Yeah, that 45 magic power on that Shadow is pretty decent. Alright, Pearl Earring does get through that fight. So, even though 2 of his 3 characters didn't get any XP, the XP will help out Gao a lot in order to unlock a better sword tech for himself. And it's unfortunately the blue Durgan, which is one of the worst ones to see. However, that Flash Rain opener will get absorbed by those ice shields, so that's really, really nice to have there, along with cracking another rod here. Unfortunately, that's, I think, where the offense is going to peter out for now. And it looks like Pearl Earring taking on additional fights, and this is actually a pretty good fight here. Both of these are undead. Do we have... Yeah, I guess we can throw some Phoenix Downs at these guys, and here we go. Cyan actually contributing with with that Tempest, and oh my goodness, the Magicite usage. Hefe digging down deep into the bag of tricks here in order to try and get through this fight. Yeah, considering we can buy a shield for under 20k, breaking a shield here might be the way to go. However, now that we have 2 of our characters dead, that might be a different story. That is not that's not the Esper summon we were hoping for, unfortunately, with that Magicite. Yeah, Blue Dragon's a tough one early on. A lot of AoE water-based attacks. That is a 3rd hero ring in a chest there from Pearl Earring. And Pearl Earring is deciding to get the heck out of the Serpent Trench here, fighting only 3 fights from what I saw. And the worst part is Shadow can't even really use Runic, because most of these spells are not Runic-able. And there, at the end of the Serpent Trench, is a Sketch Strago. So that's character number 4 for Pearl Earring, and it's a different character number 4 for them than it is for Hefe here, who's in a bit of a pickle. But hopefully Shadow can yeet the shield and be done with it. White dress is there for sale for Pearl Earring in World of Balance and IKEA shop. There we go. That is the shield break. Nice quick thinking there from Hefe, realizing, hey, I can't win this fight unless I use a consumable here. Took a little bit of time to get his characters back up, but now they have all gained some levels. They've all learned some spells, including that Life 2 and that Flare. Just a Force Shield, unfortunately, from the drop, but you know what? We will take it, as we will use our one and only Warp Stone to get the heck out of here. And we'll see where Hefe decides to go next. He's got access to Gao Manor, as well as Floating Continent now, if he wants to flip over the World of Balance. He can go to the Velt Cave if he wants to stick around in the World of Ruin, but it looks like he's going to go get that free Shadow check, maybe, perhaps. Meanwhile, Pearl Earring now has access to Strago checks, which is probably why he's avoiding them and heading straight to Doma Siege. Oh, here's another character. Alright, so that is Rage Terra. That is way more like it. I did not see who he swapped out, but I bet it's Cyan. I wasn't Cyan. It was actually Strago. Interesting. Retainer Rage is great to have early on for Terra. So that's a really good pickup there. And we're going to get an Esper on the board here for Hefe with Ramu. Alright, so this is the awkward, can't really do much against the Rappa fight for Pearl Earring. We don't really have much in the way of offense other than sword tech, so I'm surprised that our runners haven't just gone straight to the Dream. But I can also understand that too, right? If you don't have a lot of offense, you might get stuck in Cyan's Dream because you have to beat 2 bosses in order to get out of there. So I could definitely understand the hesitation from our runners here. It looks like, yep, more ice shields is the plan for Hefe. Can't go wrong with that. Might be better off using GP Rain here versus Dispatch. Might actually do more damage. Because GP Rain will split its damage amongst however many targets you have, but since this is a single target, it'll be pretty beneficial to you. As here we have Hefe deciding to go into Cyan's Dream to power up that Sword Tech Gao user. The question is, can he survive what is in here? Yeah, I almost forgot what Rage Terra was using, because I haven't seen Terra do the Rage ability once, and then Golden Shocker points out this is probably the worst string of Retainer luck I've ever seen. We're getting dangerously close to the Condemn countdown, too, which is why Pearl Earring is having to go through the weight tricking here. Please, Tara, do the thing. Thank you. She did the thing. It's about time. So she was doing, what, 50 damage a swing? And she did 600 damage from from shock, so you could have done that and saved me 10 turns. Thanks a lot. Yeah, unfortunately, only Sword Tech 2, and that's because of how little fights we did inside of the Serpent Trench. When do you get Sword Tech 3? Let's see. You get Sword Tech 3 at level 12, right? So not level 12 yet. Normally, you're up to level 12 by the time you're on your second or third check, but not with running away from some of the enemies we saw in the Serpent Trench and being sneezed by that other group of enemies. It's just not good. However, getting through that means we get access to this treasure trove, and hopefully it's better than what we saw in the South Figaro basement. So far, not really. Dirk and Ashura. Alright, Genji Armor and Nutkin Suit are okay. But otherwise, kind of a waste of a trip down there, huh? Meanwhile, Hefe has to deal with Funbaba. And at lower levels, Funbaba can be a problem. He counters basically everything with lightning magic, and he's got a lot of HP. Looks like Pearl Earring either forgot to put the Moogle Charm on or purposefully kept it off here. I'm willing to think it's purposely took it off. So one of the things you can do if you notice that your enemies and your bosses are taking a very long time to kill is to get more levels. So that is the strategy here from Pearl Earring, so I do like that. This is a really good fight for them as well. Not really in danger of dying. I know that Great Behemoth's Rage is Meteor, but I don't think I've ever seen them cast Meteor. It's always been just like physical attacks and counter physical attacks. Viking 12 asking Shock, is that from a Rage? Yes, so Terra has the Retainer Rage, which will do Shock. And yeah, that is a great fight. Lots of XP, lots of GP. So yeah, that is already up to level 16 and 17 there. We'll be able to see the difference in the fights going forward there from them. Meanwhile, Hefe still grinding it out against Funbaba. Cracking a couple of rods here. I think he's wanting to save those shields, but at some point there's like the law of diminishing returns, right? And there we go. We finally get through this fight. If you know that there are cheap shields available for sale, definitely more willing to break them than not. Alright, that is just a Behemoth suit there at Cyan's Dream number 1. That's actually not a terrible thing to see a dead check there, only because that means that your enemies don't go up in scaling for their level, and you've just gained a ton of XP from that Funbaba fight. So I'm not all that mad at a dead Cyan's Dream #1 in this case, right? We want to get through Cyan's Dream in order to fully level up Gao, so we definitely want to get through this check, and it'll make it easier to kill whatever this next boss is if we don't simultaneously increase how tough this next boss is going to be. Yeah, a big sword certainly would have been better, especially with having Edgar there, or even an Aura Lance, or God forbid a Pearl Lance, right? That would have helped out way more than a behemoth suit, which hopefully one of his characters can wear. Pearl Earring, picking up a cursed ring at the end of the sealed gate cave, so that is access to instant death for them in the form of learning X Zone off of it. And it's fixed dice at the end of the sealed gate cave. So no natural users of fixed dice on Pearl Earring's side, but maybe one of the members in their party can use it. Yo, soldier, get out of my way, dude. Now he can gamble. So now with your Pearl Earring, are you looking to go dig for an offering? Right, that's usually when you find a fixed dice, that's usually a sign, hey, let's go find an earring. And Terra can use the fixed dice there. Terra actually cannot use the Atma weapon because she has rage. So in Worlds Collide, we notice that the rage ability does not behave well with the Atma weapon. And the reason why is because the Atma weapon has a special animation when it actually does the fight and the hit, and the length of the sword grows depending upon how much damage it actually does. And this does not play well with rage, because rage, if you've ever noticed, uses whatever animation of the monster that you're raging for their fight command. So if it's, say, something with claws, you'll see kind of like a claw animation. If it's something with like a sword or spikes, you'll see that sort of animation there. So the two don't really play well nice to one another. So what we did in order to prevent game crashes from rage users using the Atma weapon is we just programmed it so that the Atma weapon is removed from the equipable item pool of whatever your rage character is. Obviously, this has a loophole if you use Go-Go and then equip Rage to them, but I don't recommend doing it because you will crash your game, and you'll have to reset, and who knows what happens when you reset your game. You may or may not corrupt your save file, depending upon if you're using an actual game versus an emulator. I just don't recommend doing it. Meanwhile, we were getting all worked up for nothing here, as it's just Rasopas and the Piranhas at the end of Cyan's Dream. So the big hurdle for our runners so far has been just how to get by with pretty paltry offense. But now, hopefully, we'll start picking up some steam as Gao is going to unlock this sword tech. We do have a fixed dice over there for Pearl Earring with that Rage Terror user. Eventually, we're going to want to swap off of using the Shock Retainer Rage to do something better, but I don't think we've seen much better spells thus far in this seed here. That is an Esper, though, at Dream number 2, which is a guaranteed Esper or character. And since we did not see a character sprite, we knew that this was an Esper. Let's see what's on the throne here. Can be an Esper or an item. And it is an item, so that is the worst Cyan's Dream outcome you could see. A Behemoth suit, an Esper, and a Thunder Shield. However, I think we could all agree, chat, that the real MVP, the real reward of Cyan's Dream was getting Sword Tech unlocked for Gao there. Oh, okay, hello. Ice 3 and Strength +2. So that Strength +2 would go really, really well on Gao. However, we definitely want to learn that Ice 3 spell at some point. So, does this mean we instantly now start going after a dragon in order to learn it on our character right away? And that was also Merton on that Starlit Esper, and Hefe knows where ice shields are for sale for half price. So that is our offense for the rest of the seed. Everybody do Merton except for Gao doing Sword Tech, and we're good. Away we go. It was there the whole time, folks. All we had to do was go to Cyan's Dream. So now the question for Hefe, after he finds, I think this was Strago here, right? At Doma Siege, or was this Terra? No, this is Terra. Okay. Yeah, so interesting putting Terra on the bench. I probably would have thrown Terra in over Cyan, but I could totally understand why, you know, you have to relearn everything that you've taught to Cyan. We also do have an Atma weapon, right? So for long term, maybe Edgar wears that Atma weapon, and we get Shadow on the magic train at the moment here. These are great fights, by the way, of these soldiers. They give out 15 MP per fight, which would help us learn Merton in no time. But instead, we are just short-circuiting here. And this is going to be a much, much shorter fight for Hefe, having access to Sword Tech 8 here against Narapa. Yeah, so question from the chat from Dizzy Widget. So, if you are new to the game, this is Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. It's a randomizer for Final Fantasy VI. And I kind of have a graphic that I'll put up as we already know what some of our other runners are doing here. Let's see. Let's pause this. So this is Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. So there's a bunch of different things that are randomized, stuff that's in chests, stuff that are in shops, things that Espers teach you, where the enemies are, where the bosses are, what abilities your character has. You start with the airship, and you can go anywhere based on whatever characters are in your party. Once you've assembled enough characters and Espers, you can go beat Kefka, which is the final boss of the game, and that's sort of the point of the game here. So you can see on our tracker, as we put this down, we have these numbers in gold, 6 characters and 9 Espers. So that is what our runners are trying to go after, right? Those are our goals. And in order to get that, we need to do some of the world events that are in the game based on the characters we've recruited. So in Worlds Collide, the key items, you can kind of think of them as the characters. So the characters will unlock more stuff in the game versus chasing down like a set of items that allow you to access certain places. So that is kind of the gist of what the Final Fantasy VI randomizer is all about. There's a lot more intricacies and things like that, but that's the bird's eye 1,000-foot view for you. Meanwhile, we have our runners running over one another here. We have Hefe heading through the sealed gate cave, gonna find their dice baby at the end of this. Pearl Earring is gonna be unlocking sword tech for their Gao here after this fight with Narapa. I mean, not Narapa, this other thing. The Piranhas, Rissibus. And then it'll be interesting to see where our runners go. Taking a look between our runners, we know where 6 characters are. We just need to find those shiny stones. The interesting thing about Worlds Collide is, since the characters are sort of the key items, that means that throughout the entire seed, there must be a logic to where you can get every single character in the game and every single Esper in the game by extension, since the characters are the thing that gates things and not anything else, right? So there must logically be a way to beat every seed and get all of the characters in there. So the various different checks that we have access to, we could sort of do a little bit of process of elimination to figure out where we need to go in order to beat the game and get our requirements. Alright, so Pearl Earring getting their nothing, Esper nothing in Dream. Hefe getting his nothing here at the end of the sealed gate cave. We're level 20 for Pearl Earring, so good recovery from them. after just slogging through the first couple of fights there. Hefe, meanwhile, has a plan, and the plan is use Merton on everybody else that isn't Gao, and use the Atma weapon on Edgar eventually when I have enough levels. And I don't think that time is now, though. Unfortunately, he sees that nobody can use the fixed ice, but Terra can use the fixed ice. We know that because Pearl Earring actually has access to Terra and kept her in the party. Looks like they are going through the World of Ruin South Figaro. So this is 2 more of Edgar's checks at the engine room and the ancient castle. And oh, Drinks Glue is going to be upsetty spaghetti that his Yeti was in this seed that is not so jetty. Did you like that? That's Final Fantasy freestyle here. So that is an Umaro as the reward for the Figaro engine room check here. Alright, so Hefe getting in a grind fight in order to get thrown out. And, my heart almost skipped a beat there. It looks like they were making a beeline straight for the Leite River, which is one of Terra's checks that we tend to normally not do because it's a bit of a longer one. Remember, this is a speed run after all. We want to get to the end of the game as fast as humanly possible. Oh my goodness, Imp Halberd and Tortoise Shield in back-to-back chests there. Oh my goodness. And with a natural jump using Edgar, that is exactly what I would do for Edgar for the rest of the seed there. An Imp Jumper, French kiss. It's a build you don't see very often. Oh boy, it's Guardian down here. Yeah, so Hefe in the chat asks, who would do Leite? I understand that. I'm just thinking, like, hey, I've had a few encounters here that have been very, very slow. So maybe I want to get some more levels before continuing through the seed. And that's what Leite River is pretty good for. It's good to get levels on your characters. Although it is fairly slow. Yeah, so character abilities are also randomized between who can use what. Equipment is sort of randomized as well, where certain characters can use certain pieces of equipment that they may not have been able to in the vanilla game. The spells that Espers teach are randomized. The rates at which they're taught are also randomized. Bonuses on the Espers are randomized. The bosses are obviously randomized because the Three Stooges should have been in Cyan's Dream, and they weren't. They're here at Welk instead. So lots of cool randomization things you can do with Worlds Collide. However, you also do need to know a lot of vanilla game knowledge. So the boss scripts are all the same as they are in vanilla, except they do slightly different attacks based on what level they are. They will do attacks that are more in line with what their levels are scaled to. So basically the enemies are as difficult as the number of characters, espers, and dragons you've defeated are. It's not based on location like it is in some other randomizers. I know that some other RPG randomizers will have like a boss spot HP and level and stuff like that. That's not how Worlds Collide does it. Also, all of the weapons and armor, all of their abilities and stats are exactly the same as they are in vanilla. So you'll never get like a bad Ragnarok. It will always be the 255 battle power. Will have a potential to cast flare when you swing it, sort of thing. So there's a lot of good vanilla game knowledge that you need to play Worlds Collide, and there's also a lot of good randomizer knowledge that you need to play Worlds Collide, and that's what our runners are basically showcasing off here is both sides of the coin, if you will. Pearl Earring, having cleared out the ancient castle, is now heading down to the ancient castle. I said ancient castle before. Having cleared out the engine room, is now heading down to the ancient castle. That's what I meant. So they can fight an optional dragon here, as well as get one reward. You only get the reward from the back. You don't get the double reward like you do in the vanilla game here at this spot. Meanwhile, that was an Esper for Hefe over at the Welk spot. And he's inching himself closer and closer to being able to use that Atma weapon. Atma weapon is a weapon that the damage is dependent upon your level. Anything under level 32, and you're actually leaving damage on the table from the way that the formula is calculated. Yeah, so the imp setup with the boots is and the horn is still going to do a lot of damage, which is why Pearl Earring does have access to it, and the Tortoise Shield will still teach you the imp spell at a 1x rate. So you could still learn imp via that way if you'd like to. It would definitely be what I would be doing if I was Pearl Earring, but that's just because I love the Imp Dragoon. And Hefe is heading to the Leite River, because of course he did. Of course he debated us in the chat, asking the leading question, making me validate this terrible choice for him. And there we go. Alright, so that is Ragnarok the Esper there for Pearl Earring down in the Ancient Castle. And they're probably going to go ahead and fight this dragon down here while they're at it. So the dragons are shuffled amongst themselves. The bosses are shuffled amongst themselves. You can mix the two together if you want. You can make them random instead of shuffled. But that's not what this particular seed does. And it is the fire dragon here. And we've purchased some ice rods apparently. So that's really nice for this particular boss here. Meanwhile, Hefe being on the Leite River, gonna fight. You could fight more than 4 fights, but I think 4 is the minimum here that you can get away with on the Leite River. A bit of a longer check, but as I mentioned, there are these forced encounters on the Leite River, and they will get your XP up. And since we know that Hefe wants to turn his Edgar into an Atma weapon user, he definitely wants some levels here. Meanwhile, that's Dragon Dead for Pearl Earring. And gets an Experience Egg for his trouble. Hello, Experience Egg. Onto the Atma weapon. So, dragons, in addition to giving a bunch of XP and MP and their vanilla drop, in this case a Strato sword from the Red Dragon, they do drop a high tier item. And in this case, the high tier item is an Experience Egg that doubles the experience of whomever is wearing it. So now, where does Pearl Earring go? We know from Hefe doing the Welk check that there is no character behind Umaro, and that could be a place for Pearl Earring to go because they already have 6 characters. They do not need any more characters in order to unlock the final boss of the game. So that is a possibility there for them. Hefe, meanwhile, is at 5 characters and 5 Espers, so they need both. So this Leite River play makes sense because you can't really peek it before you go ahead and do it. And that is the last save point before the boss here. And we will see what the boss is at the end of the Leite River. Oh no. Oh no. This is not what you want to see at the end of the Leite River. So we do have access to Flare, which is non-elemental damage against Magimaster. We also have Sword Tech 7, which ignores Magimaster's very high physical defense. So this is a fight here. So it looks like Hefe throws in the Ice 3, so that'll trigger the wall change, and Shadow has queued up a Thunder Shield here. So this is very dangerous, because this shield could do 0 damage, which it did. It could actually heal the boss, or it could deal damage. So you're going to want to always throw the shield first when you fight Magimaster, because the wall change means that he nullifies 6 of the 8 elements. He will absorb 1 of them and is weak to 1 of them. And obviously you don't know which one it is unless you use the scan ability. And yeah, this is going to be kind of a tough fight here. What does... Oh, Edgar is jumping with the Atma weapon. I think that using Flare would actually do way more damage than jumping with the Atma weapon. But that also takes way longer too, so... Meanwhile, Pearl Earring is still looking in Monster in a Boxes there. Struck out on Katana Soul down in Ancient Castle, as well as the one in the classroom. They have Umaro, so they have access to one additional monster in a box that Hefe does not. Yeah, this is a bit of a rough fight here. We'll get through it because of all of the shields that we have, but it's just going to take a while. Gao is not doing a heck of a lot of damage here. And this is where that Strength +2 Esper would come into play and be really handy. However, it is unfortunately, I think, the same Esper that has Ice 3 on it. So it's one of those things where you have to learn the Ice 3 first. Alright, so Pearl Earring is heading to Tritalk, which is the check right before Umaro, and oh no, it's Doomgaze! Oh, it's a multi-kill! That's a squad wipe there for Pearl Earring. Doomgaze bodying level 25. You hate to see it happen. Alright, so we gotta come back to that and do that later, or we do the dragon first, and hey, that is Setzer floating down the Leite River there with control for Hefe. So Setzer unlocks the Kolingen in check. It also unlocks the aforementioned Doomgaze spot, the Search the Skies spot, since he's the one with the airship. It also unlocks Daryl's Tomb. Yeah, this is the Potion A race. And there's Gogo. So, characters leading to more characters here for Hefe. Some ice rods for sale there in the shop. And a pair of Genji things if we need more defense, but we definitely don't. We need Phoenix Downs. We need Warp Stones. We need Revivifies and Sleeping Bags. We need all this stuff. Thank goodness we came to Kolingen there. And it looks like Pearl Earring is going to go ahead and take on the dragon first this time before going up against our Magimaster. This is a pretty smart one. Meanwhile, Hefe rounding out Terra's checks here at World of Balance Zozo. So, Hefe avoiding Floating Continent, which is one of Shadow's checks, and I don't blame him. Floating Continent looked very attractive early on in the seed when Hefe got Shadow as the fourth character basically right away. However, now having done a whole bunch of other checks, it is one of the longer locations in the entire game, even though you're guaranteed to get a character and an Esper, or rather, character Esper is guaranteed on 2 of the places, and that is a Ragnarok drop for Pearl Earring, along with the Pearl Lance. So all of a sudden, we now have a build for Terra and a build for Edgar. So Terra's the only check that we haven't seen of Terra's yet is the Mobla's defense in the World of Ruin, where we recruit her. Alright, so Hefe taking the time to make sure that everybody at least knows Life 3. Just like I mentioned before, we do know that we are going to have to fight Kefka at the end of this, which means that we have to go up against Tier 3 that casts an instant death physical called Calmness, and Life 3 is a great way to protect us from that. Just Flame Eater here at the top of Zozo Tower, perfect for Hefe, who has some Ice 3 action going on here. Unfortunately, can't use Merton on this particular target. Meanwhile, Pearl Earring, getting past the first round of level 5 Doom, now has to has to deal with just Doom from some of Doomgaze's normal attacks. But finally, Gao is starting to do some decent damage there. About 3,600 there with that Sword Tech 7. Flame Eater dead for Hefe. So we'll see what the reward is at the top here. And thank goodness he found those warp stones. Otherwise, this is a long walk back. And oh, it's okay. It's a dragon horn. I would have liked that a while ago. I've already committed to having a Atma weapon jumper, or rather an Atma weapon for my Edgar. I guess you can jump with an Atma weapon, but it's definitely not as effective as just swinging away with it. Alright, 56k for Tizen Thief. We do know that it is an Esper, because Tizen Thief said for this shiny stone. We'll see if he flips over to the World of Ruin in order to buy it at a different price. Yeah, you certainly can jump with a... oh my god, Doomgaze. Leave Edgar alone! Yeah, you certainly can jump with an Atma weapon. It's just, I would rather stay on the ground than do the fight command. You do avoid all sorts of incoming damage that way, though. And Edgar can't stay alive here. It's a bit unfortunate. Now, Pearl Earring is running out of Phoenix Downs as well. Meanwhile, Hefe heading through the Serpent Trench, and of course, we already know that this is Strago on the other side. So he will be, I guess, disappointed, because he already has 6 characters. However, chat, do recall that we do get a Kefka Tower skip at 9 characters, or 12 Espers, or 22 checks. So we'll see if this means we're going to get a check skip here. That is an Esper at the top of Tritalk there after the Doomgaze fight. And remember, there is not a character after Yeti. Yep, we better save just in case. That seems like a good idea. Yeah, so as Jazer points out in the chat, we did have a lot of dead checks in this seed. We had one at Zozo Tower. We had 2 in Cyan's Dream, right? We had 1 at the end of the Sealed Gate Cave that most people went to, as well as we have access to at least 1 Easy Dragon with Mount Zozo, and Pearl Earring went down to get a second one in Ancient Castle. So, oh, and actually got a third one. Did they do Mount Zozo? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they must not have done Mount Zozo yet. Or I miscounted how many dragons they have. That could be totally true. Let's do a little cheating and let's see. Did I miscount? Nope, I didn't miscount. He's only got 2 dragons. Yeah, so Hefe has done the Mount Zozo Dragon, Pearl Earring has done the Ancient Castle Dragon, and now the one at the top of Narsh. Hefe, meanwhile, heading through Serpent Trench, now that they have access to Merton to fry everything in here, essentially, instead of getting stuff thrown at us. And that is another Esper there for Pearl Earring out of the carving. So, Beneficial Umaro, 2 for 2 here in the World of Ruin Narsh. And just a layup in Dataluma. Oh. So the fun thing about Dataluma with Steel, and this is a really nice heads-up play from Pearl Earring, is that Dataluma will steal your money, but when you win this fight back, you win it at the multiplied rate. So Dataluma just stole like 6 grand from you, but you're actually going to get 6 grand times 5 back when you win this fight. So we're going to see a very big number pop up on Pearl Earring's screen here in just a second for the amount of GP that they're going to get back. And that is Hefe's 8th character with Strago. 81,000 GP. Holy cow. I think Terra's wearing that cat hood too. We could finance pretty much about everything. Magic power +1 on that Esper at Yeti Cave too. That's really nice to see. Alright, so where does Hefe go? He has so many checks available to him. And he has the floating continent, which he is not going to now. I refuse to believe. Oh, he is getting desperate. We're going to Fnatic's Tower to peek what's at the bottom here. So Fnatic's Tower is a guaranteed Esper or character. However, just like the gimmick in the vanilla game, you can only use magic inside of the tower. Thankfully, his entire team knows Merton. So he's just going to do it. It actually didn't matter what this reward was, right? It's either skip or another Esper for him. So he's going to go ahead and do that. Pearl Earring, meanwhile, is probably going to go to Zen Thief to buy that Esper with all that cash that he just got from that last fight. And then he has some more choices available. So what checks have we not seen yet? So Strago's other 2 checks are the Burning House and Ebbets Rock. And 857 GP. Wow, that is probably the biggest Zen Thief difference I've ever seen. It was 56k in World of Balance and under 1,000 in the World of Ruin. That is redonkadonk. Meanwhile, it's the Dirt Durgan here at the Fnatic's Tower Dragon, and we're just going to fry it. Who likes some fried Dirt Dragon? Pearl Earring here looks like they are going to do the Zozo mountain check, which is another one of Cyan's checks. So yeah, he's running out of checks that he can do. So they will get their shadow here at the end of Mount Zozo, and then they have some decisions to make as to where to go next. So Shadow does open up Floating Continent, as I mentioned, as well as the Cave on the Veldt. So that's another check we haven't seen from either one of our runners yet. We also haven't seen Gogo's only check at Zone Eater, and I don't anticipate that we're going there anytime soon. Maybe if we're forced to do a party reform, I could see us doing that, because if we're going down to one character anyway, that's the time to do it. Flippy Dippy boiled asparagus as the Dirt Dragon. Just put some breadcrumbs and some olive oil on some fried Dirt Dragon and it'll be fine. Alright, Pearl Earring is going to head for this dragon here. Blue Dragon is Water Dragon, so it is weak to lightning. Which kind of makes sense. Alright, here we go. Hefe, what's at the top of Fnatic's Tower? Oh my goodness. Just a Force Shield. And the Dragon Drop was a Snow Muffler. So, Hefe avoiding the Ragnarok that is the Dragon Drop from World of Ruin Narsh. That's probably the one he really wanted. Yeah, I think Shadow's magic power, I don't know if it was base 45 or if that was equipped by somebody else, but I know that one of our runners showed the magic power and it was around 45, which is pretty nice for Shadow. Alright, and it's not Magimaster at the top, thank God. It's number 24. Could you imagine, like, seeing this sprite on your screen? I know Hefe already beat Magimaster, but if you didn't, like, going up Fnatic's tower, seeing the sprite on your screen and having a momentary heart attack. As Nova Soul in the chat says, here's Magimaster at home. Thanks, Mom. Alright, so that's more Merton for Hefe's team. And he will get an Esper once he gets back to the bottom of this here. A little vanilla bean, a little vanilla extract. Alright, so where does Hefe go from here? He still needs to get 3 more Espers even after this one at the bottom. So he has the other 2 Strago checks that I mentioned, Ebbets Rock and Burning House. He can also peek what's that World of Ruin Mobilis. You could talk to the little girl at the bottom. But he has access to Setzer. And Setzer also has Search the Skies, which is a very fast Esper item only check. He also has access to Daryl's Tomb, which is a pretty quick check. And then Velt Cave, which you can peek. So I think he's in pretty decent shape, even though he has 8 characters here. Alright, it is Ebbets Rock there for Pearl Earring. And that is a huge Esper for Hefe with Siren. Allows us to mute the second part of Final Kefka. Alright, so the gimmick with Ebbets Rock is we have to collect 22 and no fewer pieces of coral to feed to the chest. Oh man, look at this boss in the sky. Imagine accidentally running into this. I mean, Hefe's okay now because he has Merton on everybody plus Sword Tech 7, so he's fine, but still pretty brutal. Not to be outdone, the spicy chicken in Ebbets Rock. Holy cow. So, we do not have stop, it doesn't look like. However, we do have access to Sword Tech 6. And Sword Tech 6 actually has a chance to cast stop. So if Pearl Earring wanted to roll the dice there, he can do that. However, Gao is dead. So F's for Gao in the chat. So the good thing about seeing these bosses out here in the wild is that we don't have to see them inside of Kefka's tower, where our party is arguably at our weakest. So I don't mind fighting some of these bad bosses outside. Some of them, right? Like, I feel bad about Magimaster at the end of the Leite River, because not a lot of people are going to go do that check. I feel kind of bad here about Poltergeist and Ebbets Rock, because also not a lot of people are going to do the check. Doom in Search the Skies. If you get Setzer, you're doing Search the Skies, right? You kind of have to. It's a super duper fast check. Same thing with if you get Umaro, you're going to do Tritalk and going to fight Doomgaze. So I guess the answer is it depends, right? I'd rather have the bosses show up here than inside of Kefka's tower, but also some of these bosses I would feel bad about running into. Alright, so Hefe just needs 2 more. Make that 1 more Esper after going to get to Zen Thief here. Question from the chat from Drinks Glue is, how can I play Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide like these players on the screen? Well, you can go to ff6worldscollide.com, which is where you can roll your own seeds, as well as have access to a wiki page where we sort of explain how to set up the game and who unlocks what and all sorts of fun different things for you. There's also a link to our Discord server if you'd like to come and hang out and talk about Final Fantasy VI, the vanilla game, or the randomizer, whatever you want to do there. We're around and we like to hang out. We like to welcome newcomers. We do have a beginner program where you could sign up for time with a mentor. So that is always something that you can do if you are interested in playing. If you want to play like these players, though, you're going to need to practice a little bit, because these are some of the best here. As we get Locke for our trouble from Ebbett's Rock. So lots of different character combinations on screen here. Oh, wow. We are inserting Locke into the party there. And we're grabbing fixed dice out of the chest. So one of the good things about getting a character out of Ebbett's Rock is you get dumped into Thamasa in World of Ruin. Same thing with the end of the Velt Cave. You get dumped into World of Ruin Thamasa. So the Shadow checks and the Strago checks do have some synergy there between the two of them. Alright, so Hefe is going to see. You can peek what's on the ground here at the Velt Cave. And that is Realm, so that's character number 9 for Hefe. So Hefe is going to take Realm because that means that he can get to do Kefka Tower skip with his 9th character here. And the only characters that we're missing here are Sabin, Celeste, and Mog, it looks like. We know where everybody else in the seed is. That's crazy. One of the cool things about Worlds Collide, one of the reasons why I love playing this game, is because you can get into situations like this, where two people playing the same exact seed have completely different paths through the seed, and it's not like, well, okay, one might be better than the other, because one might be faster than the other, but if you're not playing this for racing purposes, right, if you're just playing this casually, then you have multiple ways that you can beat the seed, which is kind of awesome. Pearl Earring, meanwhile, with access to Locke, has access to the Norsh weapon shop in the World of Ruin, where you get the choice of Ragnarok or Ragnarok, and in this seed, it is the choice of Alexander and Genji Glove. So Pearl Earring is going to grab Alexander. They can actually go and get the Genji Glove behind Terra's Whelp check in the mines. So since we already have Terra, or we could just pull a Genji Glove out of a barrel there, as Hefe does. So yeah, all of the high tier items that were available from all of our drops are apparently in chests somewhere. So now we have one runner with 9 characters, 8 Espers, and 2 dragons. We have another character with 8 Espers, 8 characters, and 3 dragons. So we'll see if Pearl Earring, we do know that there are definitely easy ways for them to get access to a 9th character here. Just have to go to Shadows check in order to go do that and get Realm. And where was Gogo? Where the heck was Gogo? Gogo was... Oof. I don't even remember. It wasn't behind Setzer. Setzer was Leite River, right? Oh, Gogo was behind Setzer? I didn't. I knew that we did the colon check. I thought it was a dead check, but it was not. It was Gogo. Thank you, Golden Shocker, for keeping me honest. Meanwhile, Pearl Earring is going to get their go mode here for their 9th Esper. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not they turn around and get their 9th character. I also don't know how many checks they're at, so I'm going to do that real fast while Hefe gets what is maybe an Esper here at Esper Mountain, because it definitely wasn't a character. Let's see. They're at 19 checks, so they will be at 20 checks after this, so they may go for check skip instead of getting a 9th character. You can do a skip to the Kefka Tower gauntlet, boss gauntlet rather, with 22 checks in Ultros League. Alright, so that's Atma down for Hefe. And at an hour and 14 and a half minutes into the seed, usually if I'm not in Kefka's Tower by now, I have resigned myself to the fact that I've lost. But I don't necessarily think that's the case here. I think that this was just a heck of a seed that both of our runners get go mode at basically exactly the same time. So Pearl Earring is going to go get check number 21 here. That counts as a check. So all they have to do is do one more dragon, which I believe they have the Opera House dragon left, and they can then do the Kefka Tower skip as well. Yeah, so I think Jazer in the chat predicted earlier that Floating Continent might have been 3 Espers, and given the way that this seed is played out, I'm pretty certain that that's probably the case. Right? The other alternative is that Floating Continent is where some of our characters that we have not yet seen are. Sabin, Celeste, and Mog. But we haven't seen Owser's Mansion. We haven't seen Daryl's Tomb. Right? And we haven't seen South Figaro Cave or Phoenix Cave to go along with Burning House. So we haven't done all of the checks in the game, and nobody peeked Mobilis to see what it is. So there's, oh boy. A 3 freeze there for Hefe, but this Merton will thaw out our party there. This is one of the best things about having Merton is you can basically do null or healing damage to your own party and do a lot of damage to whatever's on the other side of that fire and wind based attack. So that's another dragon there for Hefe. Probably just looking for a little bit more levels, learning a couple of more spells to head in before Kefka's Tower. And of course, getting the bad news that still no big swords. Meanwhile, Pearl Earring is going to go ahead and get their check skip here by doing the same. Opera House Dragon. Hefe going to blow the rest of his cash on some half-price ice shields. Yeah, you fought the wrong dragon. Had you gone up to the World of Ruin Norse dragon, then you might have gotten some other stuff. Yeah, look at all the stuff you could sell. Holy cow. We're just going to be rolling in ice shields at the end of this. I feel sad that neither one of our runners went with Imp Dragoon, but I can understand too, right? Like, you have so many options. 12 shields there, and could definitely have bought more. No cap. Could have bought way more. So the ice shields are a good get-out-of-jail-free card here for Hefe, but honestly, what is even going to be in Kefka's Tower that's going to be a problem for our team? The Goddess, maybe? Because we've seen all the other bad bosses, really. Shields are great because you can crack them on enemies' faces, including Final Kefka. I'm never usually mad at getting an elemental shield from a dead check, because I could always just use it to kill the last boss of the game. So folks, we are about an hour and 18 minutes and 30 seconds. Go give our runners a follow here. I was supposed to have 3 of them for you, but Schwantz goofed and downloaded the wrong VOD for one of our runners. So But still give Tybalt a follow anyway. Another Welk inside of Kefka's tower. It must be the snail's place here. Pearl Earring, meanwhile, grabbing another Esper, and I'm not quite sure why. Because that would have been their 23rd check, but yeah, a bit of a bummer seeing that Strength +2 Esper show up at the end there. But remember, they didn't get Shadow until very, very late in the seed. Unlike Hefe, who bounced out of the Serpent Trench and decided, you know what? I'm going to take off the Moogle Charm and go walk Mount Zozo. Again, that's something I see a lot of higher tier runners do. If they can't get something, or if something doesn't go their way early, what they'll do is they will they'll walk with the Moogle Charm off towards a check, rather than just walking back and forth somewhere. Pearl Earring has the same idea as Hefe. I have a ton of money. Let's just blow it on shields. So now the question is, are you going to get this time back, right? So there is a time investment that is needed to not only land the airship over here, but end up selling all of these things in order to buy the shields. So we'll see which one of our runners actually uses all of these shields that they're going to be buying here. One target you can't use these shields on is this boss right here, number 128. Actually will absorb ice. Alright, it looks like Pearl Earring bought their shields, and now it's time for the tower. So we'll be coming in hot right on the heels of Hefe. However, Hefe already has 2 of the 4 gauntlet bosses killed. So Pearl Earring's got to go, go, go. Got to make up some of this time here. Alright, we do have an Umaro here at the top of the Poltergeist spot. Wasn't there also a Umaro here in the last seed that we watched? I'm pretty sure there was. Strago channeling his inner Yeti there with the sketch. Love to see it. Yeah, so normally, the roadblock in Kefka's Tower when you get at the switches is the middle lane because you have to fight 2 bosses. So what runners normally do is they will pick 2 characters from their final party to fight in this lane here that Hefe is in. And then put 1 character on either one of the other side lanes. So it's interesting that Hefe decided to go with only 1 character here. Edgar is a good choice because he benefits the most from those extra levels that the Atma weapon gives you. But it's interesting why he chose to have only 1 character in this lane. Perhaps it was lack of confidence on the party that was put together on the right-hand side of, or the left-hand side of the tower, rather. Alright, so this should do Welkin here. Ooh, not yet. Unfortunately, Terra is slowed too. And this boss wastes so much time inside of Kefka's Tower. Yeah, don't play Worlds Collide when you're tired or when you're angry. I might have to do both this week because unfortunately I am leaving for a trip on Thursday. So I was planning on doing my run actually after this, but it's way too late. I'll just do it on Wednesday before I go. Alright, so that's the first boss down there for Pearl Earring. And that, I believe, is the last boss down for Hefe here. So our runners are still pretty close, even though Hefe has the clear lead now, defeating all of the bosses and just needing to head up to Final Kefka. The question is, who's going to have better execution of this Kefka fight here? So we know we don't have Calmless Protection outside of Life 3, so Life 3 will take some time to cast. Hefe does have Siren, which will help in Tier 2. I don't know if Pearl Earring does. And both of them obviously have access to Sword Tech 8 with Gao for instant deathing tools and long arm. So it's going to come down to execution here and a little bit of luck. Pearl Earring getting Ghost Train here, and that will be Sword Tech 8, and then this can go bye-bye. So this is a pretty easy fight there for Pearl Earring. And just has the two bosses in the middle left to go. Meanwhile, Hefe stepping up to the plate here against Final Kefka. Tier 1 3-parter, and the face is weak to fire, so we're going to light it on fire. We're going to use Gao to have Sword Tech 8 or Instant Death for the long arm there. And then we have to be careful of that Balled Up Fist that counterattacks basically everything we do. So we want to make sure when we attack the Balled Up Fist that we do not do it with a character that is low HP. Because if it does, then there's a chance that they will counter, and Hefe can lose that party member for the rest of the fight. Now, in the vanilla game, it's normally not a huge deal that you lose a party member. You swap somebody out for somebody else, because you're basically leveling up different characters at different points throughout the game. But in Worlds Collide, you are always using, or most of the time using, just your main 4 characters for the entire game. So the other people that are on your bench are pretty bad. So it's a big liability to not have one of your characters from the starting crew in. So Hefe being careful here, deciding not to use Cyan, and that's smart because, like I said, that Balled Up Fist basically counters everything, and Cyan is in like one-hit KO territory from a big fist to the face. That's a nice block there from Interceptor, good doggo. And we're going to just make sure that... Oh, there goes Cyan, oh boy. So yeah, like I said, this is very risky here for Hefe. Clutch block from Cyan there. Hopefully this will take care of it here, as Gao going to go ahead and use that Sword Tech. Doing about 6,000 damage with that Sword Tech. It's a bit underwhelming for Sword Tech 7. I think having the Strength plus 2 Esper on Gao all game would have made that number spike way higher. But, as I mentioned, that also is the Esper with Ice 3 on it, which was getting Hefe through some of those really early fights early on. So, it's a little bit of a give and take, and unfortunately you can't spread out the Espers across multiple characters at the same time. Alright, so here comes Siren out for Hefe here in this first part. And Gao is going to queue up Sword Tech 8 here in order to kill Tools, which is the part in the middle. Then we're going to try and focus on Tiger with our ice spells. And hit, I think we'll leave to last because only does 10 hits, which is not usually a problem, especially if we have Mute for Magic. If we don't have Mute for Magic, then 10 hits becomes a little bit more sketchy. But since we've got Siren, it shouldn't be an issue. Alright, so on this tier, we've got 4 parts. And we don't really have targetable offense aside from that Atma weapon on Edgar. We're finally seeing some usage of these ice shields that we purchased. Tiger is weak to ice, so throwing an ice shield at it is a good idea. You can also throw an ice shield at everything, but it does do split damage. I still would do it anyway, because cracking a shield does a heck of a lot of damage. Cyan is just there for moral support, it looks like, here in on Hefe's team. Yeah, so we've used one of the 12 ice shields we purchased. How many more do we think we're going to use here? Let's see. The fun thing about Worlds Collide is that it really sort of tries to break your stereotypes of what you do in RPG games. Most normally in RPG games, a lot of people like to hoard items, right? Whereas it's not a good thing to do that in the speedrun randomizer. Every item that you don't use is just burning a hole in your pocket to purchase an item that you might use, like, oh, I don't know, your 9th Esper from Tizen, or a big sword that we never found, right? So that's one of those things where it's good to have the resources. You just need to use the resources. Unfortunately, there isn't really much in this seed that we can do in terms of buying, other than the half-price ice shields that we bought. So, not a big deal in this seed, but in some other seeds where we've got some goodies for sale, having all that extra stuff is not a good idea. Alright, here we go. Now it's Ice Shield time. It's Ice Shield o'clock, everybody. Meanwhile, that Ragnarok procking the flare out there from Pearl Earring, and they are on the first tier here. Again, have to be careful with this balled up fist. It basically will counter all of your attacks. So, one good thing about having Gao with Sword Tech, although this is a Cure 3 on everybody, so that's fine. Sword Tech 5 actually will heal up your character while dealing damage to the enemy. So it's a pretty powerful ability to use there. I love using Sword Tech 5 after something like Fallen 1 from Final Kefka, or even on Tier 1 if I get punched in the face a little bit too much. Meanwhile, Tier 3 for Hefe, and here's where the rubber is going to hit the road in terms of execution. We want to kill the girl first, and we want to have Life 3 up for Calmness at the end for the big guy there. Oh, a Ragnarok steal. The swag. So the steals in Worlds Collide, they can be shuffled, but in this seed they are not. So you could steal a Ragnarok from Girl, and you could steal an Atma weapon from Sleep there, which is pretty gnarly. And it looks like I didn't see very many people have Life 3 actually on them. So we'll see how Hefe deals with this. Maybe this is just a, DPS as much as you can, and let's just go. Unfortunately, Shadow can't use the Ragnarok. It's only going to be Edgar, who's already using the Atma weapon. So, much to the chagrin of Hefe, who had been trying all seed to go for a big sword, he finally gets one and can't really use it. Meanwhile, not having access to Siren is causing Pearl Earring some problems there, as we now have a muddled Atma weapon on the loose. Be careful there. Oh boy. Oh man. Down goes Terra. Alright, so now it's Ice Shield o'clock, and it looks like it's Phantom Strats for Hefe here in order to counteract the Calmness. Now, this is very dangerous, because if this Ice Shield does not kill Sleep, Sleep will counter with Meteor, and since his whole team has vanished, Meteor will definitely hit. Oh no, and here comes Train. So Train is definitely going to hit on the whole crew, which it was going to anyway. But thankfully it wasn't Meteor, so now he knows that Sleep is under 10,000 HP. We crack an Ice Shield, and unfortunately Cyan goes down, but I think you'll agree with me that out of the 4 members of that final party, Cyan was definitely the one that was contributing the least to this fight here. Because you can't spell Cyan without see ya, right? Pearl Earring, meanwhile, just on the last 2 parts of this Kefka and gets the huge roll there out of the fixed ice from Terra. Meanwhile, here comes final Kefka for Hefe. So Kefka has 60,000 HP, will counter with Fallen 1 on his first turn. When he gets under 30,000 HP, we'll begin to counter with things like Hyperdrive and Havoc Wing. If he's under 10,000 HP, he may counter with Ultima. However, he does take a counter break during a charge up for an ability called Goner, and I don't think we're going to see Hefe. Yeah, so here comes Fallen 1. So you can bypass Fallen 1 if you're lucky, and if you do more than 30,000 damage, but that's not the case here. And Hefe's being pretty smart here. Instead of clearing out statuses of his characters, right, and wasting turns, he's just continuing to yeet ice shields at the problem. Out comes Hyperdrive, and that is certainly going to send Shadow crashing to the mat. So now we know that Kefka's under 30k HP. So Hefe has a choice here. Do we pick Shadow back up, or do we wait for Goner? It looks like he's waiting for Goner here. And we're going to start to throw some stuff with our characters. Alright, out comes the Phoenix down for Shadow, who immediately will get killed by this Goner. So this is a bit unfortunate. Here comes the 4:30 a.m. mistake period for Hefe here. So Goner is going to kill Shadow again. And then we have to be careful after that. Oh, did he get Shadow up just to pluck the ice shield off of him? That's dirty. That is dirty. That's super dirty. That's payback for making us wait at the end of the floating continent, Shadow. So yeah, Hefe has to be careful here because he could potentially proc a counter of Ultima. Now that he's got characters above 3,000 HP, he should be okay, even if Ultima comes out. But he's going to play it safe anyway. Wait for Goner. Kefka will take at least 2 turns before Goner. Sometimes he does a double Havoc Wing. Sometimes he does a Havoc Wing and Revenger. So here comes Revenger. This will remove all your positive status elements, which I don't think we have life 3 on our characters anymore. Huge block there from Interceptor. Let's go. Doggo defense in the house. And now he's just going to go for it with Gao, with this Quadra Slice. So if an Ultima comes out, I think his team will be safe. Yep, here comes Ultima. So he'll be safe because he's got enough HP to tank this. The problem is he just casted Merton, and I don't know if he's got ice shields on his party anymore. This is very scary here. Please have somebody with an ice shield on. He's got Gao with an ice shield on, and oh god, that was not enough to kill. Now we are panicking. We have to throw an ice shield. Oh my goodness. This is giving me anxiety. If he doesn't kill Kefka here, then Gao will definitely die. Oh my goodness, thank God. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. 137-27 there from Hefe is our winner in this head-to-head matchup, which was originally a 3-way matchup. But get your GGs in chat for Hefe, making it way more difficult than it had to be. Using all 12 ice shields plus some more. But that's how it's done. Meanwhile, Pearl Earring here set to go face-to-face against Final Kefka. And they have their whole party here. So this should not last very long. Yeah, still throwing some more ice shields here. Ooh, double Atma weapon there. So we skipped the Fallen 1 phase and we're heading straight into Goner. And that's just because we did more than 30,000 damage on our first turn. So that's kind of how this script works here. So nice proc here from the Ragnarok as well. Out comes the Ice Shield, and I think this should about do it. Oh, the classic miss from Edgar. But thankfully, the other one does not miss. So that's a GG for Pearl Earring as well. 139.01 is their final time. Super duper close race. Love to see it happen. So that was a tale of two seeds right there. Pretty wild, because we had way different experiences of getting to Kefka, for sure. We had Hefe who went for character skip, and the alternative was we had Pearl Earring who went for check skip. So very different, extremely different seeds, actually. Radically different. We had completely different sets of characters in our final fight, too. So very, very cool there to see a very different race than what we saw earlier tonight. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thanks to Drinks Glue and Saberwolf as well for stepping in the commentary booth with me for race 1 of this doubleheader heat. Thank you to all of the runners for getting back to me with their VODs in the cases where I needed some VODs from people. If you'd like to join the Discord, go ahead and check it out on ff6worldscollide.com/Discord, and you can hang out with some cool people. So what have we got coming up this week? It looks like, according to my calendar, on Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on this very Twitch channel, we have a Mega Elixir Week 8 showdown between Drinks Glue and Judge Joe, and maybe anybody else that wants to do their Mega Elixir run on Thursday night. Like I said, I'm going out of town on Thursday, so unfortunately, I originally threw my hat in the ring to run in this race, but then I realized, hey, I won't be here. So I'm anxiously looking forward to seeing what will happen with them, and that'll be really interesting. So thank you so much, audience, for hanging out with me for a bit, and we'll catch everybody later. Peace out. Bye-bye.